Chapter 7: Storytelling as a Business Strategy, the Data Delusion. There is a lie that persists in the business world. The lie is that the numbers speak for themselves. We believe that if we build a spreadsheet with enough rows or a slide deck with enough charts, the logic will be undeniable. We think that decision makers are rational robots who input data and output the correct decision. That is not how human brains work. Neuroscience tells us that decisions are made in the limbic system, the emotional center of the brain, and then justified by the neocortex, the logical center. We feel the decision first, and then we look for the data to back it up. If you lead with data, you are speaking to the part of the brain that creates objections. You are asking for analysis. If you lead with a story, you are speaking to the part of the brain that creates desire. You are asking for imagination. Data informs, but stories compel. This chapter is not about writing fiction. It isn't about telling jokes or anecdotes about your weekend. It is about strategic narrative. It is about wrapping your solution in a context that makes the client see themselves in a better future. If your pitch is forgettable, it is likely because you provided information without emotion. Today, we are going to fix that. The case study, 1,000 songs in your pocket. The most famous example of this comes from 2001. The MP3 player market was already crowded. There were devices from Creative and Rio. They were marketing their products the way most businesses do, with specs. Their ad said, 5 gigabytes of storage, FireWire connectivity, 10-hour battery life. Technically, this was accurate. Logically, it was impressive. Emotionally, it was dead. It required the customer to do the math, like, okay, 5 gigabytes, how many songs is that? Is that a lot? Then Steve Jobs walked onto a stage. He didn't talk about gigabytes. He didn't talk about transfer speeds. He pulled a small white device out of his jeans and said 5 words, 1,000 songs in your pocket. That is not a spec. That is a story. 1,000 songs is the scope. In your pocket is the lifestyle. In one sentence, he painted a picture of a transformation. He took a technical feature, storage capacity, and translated it into a human benefit, freedom. People didn't buy the iPod because they wanted a hard drive. They bought it because they wanted the feeling of having their entire music library with them on the subway. That phrase, 1,000 songs in your pocket, was sticky. It was repeatable. You could tell your friend at a bar what the iPod did without needing a spec sheet. This is how you win clients. You don't sell the drill, you sell the hole in the wall. You don't sell the software, you sell the Friday afternoon where they get to go home early because the software did the work for them. The narrative framework, the hero, and the guide. How do you build this narrative for a boring B2B product? You need to understand the casting. Most companies cast themselves as the hero of the story. We are the market leaders. We have the best technology. We won this award. This is a mistake. In your client's life, they are the hero. They are the ones trying to save their company, get a promotion, or solve a crisis. If you try to be the hero, you are competing with them. You need to be the guide. Think of Star Wars. The client is Luke Skywalker. They are talented, but overwhelmed. They have a problem, the Empire or market shifts. You are not Luke. You are Yoda. You are the one with the plan. You are the one who hands them the lightsaber, your product, so they can win the battle. Communication creates results when you make the client the star of the movie. Tactical workflow, the before and after bridge. To write a strategic story, do not start with once upon a time. Start with the status quo. Use the before and after bridge framework. Step 1, the before, the villain. Describe their current world with the problem. Make it visceral. Example, Right now, your finance team is spending the last week of every month manually reconciling spreadsheets. It's stressful, it leads to errors, and it keeps them from doing strategic analysis. Step 2, the after, the promised land. Describe the world where the problem is solved. Do not mention your product yet, just describe the outcome. Example, imagine a world where the books close automatically on the last day of the month. Your team walks in on the first with clean data, ready to advise the board on strategy instead of fixing typos. Step 3, the bridge, your solution. Now, and only now, introduce your product as the vehicle to get from before to after. Example, our software automates that reconciliation. We bridge the gap between manual entry and strategic insight. Do you see the difference? A bad pitch says, our software has an OCR scanning feature. A story pitch says, we take your team from data entry clerks to strategic advisors. You are selling an identity shift. You are selling a transformation. The so what test. To test if your story is working, use the so what test. Look at your slide deck or your email draft. Read a sentence, then ask, so what? If the answer is another technical fact, you failed. If the answer is a business result or an emotional relief, you won. Statement. We have 24/7 customer support. So what? So if the server crashes at 3 a.m., you can call us. So what? So you don't have to wake up in the middle of the night in a panic. The story. We sell you a good night's sleep. You will never have to wake up at 3 a.m. to fix a server crash again. Statement. We use 256-bit encryption. So what? So your data is secure. So what? So you don't get sued for a data breach. The story. We ensure your reputation against the catastrophe of a leak. Dig until you hit the emotion. Dig until you hit the human impact. Making the story portable. Here is the most important reason to use storytelling. In B2B sales, the person you are talking to is rarely the only decision maker. They have to go talk to their boss and the CFO and the procurement team. You are not in that room. If you gave them data, they will forget the numbers. If you gave them a spec sheet, they will lose it. But if you gave them a story, this software gives us our weekends back, they can repeat that. A story is a portable container for your value. It travels through the organization without you. You guide the conversation even when you aren't physically present because you planted a narrative that is easy to share. Your next step. Here is your challenge for Chapter 7. Take your standard elevator pitch, the one-sentence description of what you do. Right now, it probably describes what you do. For example, I am a graphic designer. I want you to rewrite it to describe the transformation you provide. Old, I design logos and websites. New, I help startups look like Fortune 500 companies so they can raise capital. Old, I sell insurance. New, I help families protect their financial future so a tragedy doesn't become a bankruptcy. Write out your before and after story. Practice it. You have now mastered the story. You know how to make them feel the need for your solution. But even with a great story, people are skeptical. They will nod their heads, but inside, they are holding back. They are thinking things they aren't saying. You need to hear the unspoken objections. You need to decode the subtext. You mastered the story. Now you need the subtext.